All right, welcome to another episode of the Fair Chase podcast. We're continuing our story series here, and we've got. You've been on before. Have you been
Yeah,
on before?
I, I think
We've
it may have
recorded
been
together.
Yeah.
We talk on occasion, and so Eric Clark, we've Eric, you and I have kind of gotten to know each other over the past few years, and I figured, we're talking hunting stories. Like, why not get the Okayest Hunter on to tell a hunting story? So before we jump into that, though, I want to start with who you are, what you do, where you live, that kind of thing.
The basics. My name's Eric Clark, aka the Okayest Hunter. I live in Wisconsin in a town called Oconomowoc. So if you're not from here, you're gonna have a really hard time saying that. But it's right in between Madison and Milwaukee. And I'm in my podcast studio that I have built in my basement, which always looks fun on camera until people walk in. They realize they have to walk past cat litter and kid toys. So
that's pretty standard being a dad. Kind of a thing. There's toys everywhere, and like if I didn't blur my screen, Jared tells me to blur it because he's like, it looks like you're in a classroom because I got like this map of features and I got shells on the wall and stuff. So what can you do?
Yep, you got to work with what you got.
So you are the Okayest Hunter. Look him up. He's there's always hilarious clips. They'll like lighten your mood every day, especially if you're, like people say, really in the grind of hunting. Go look it up because then it'll put it. I like it because it puts things in perspective a little bit. Sometimes we get pretty serious about hunting, and it's not meant to be that way always. Okay, Eric. So I usually at this point I ask our guest like favorite hunt before we dive into your stories, before we dive into the question kind of the month, like your favorite hunt. I'm assuming deer. Is that wrong? Is that a wrong assumption?
Yeah, I'm a deer guy through and through. So it's going to be deer. And as far as favorite hunt, I don't know. I've been at it for a while now, so it's hard to think of one that stands out. But when I used to go up to the Northwoods with my dad, those were some of my favorite hunts in general because it's a different territory up in the Nicolet, Shawinigan Nicolet National Forest in Wisconsin. Yep. Big woods, big territory, a lot of predation, so you can have some encounters potentially. I know my dad got treed by a sow bear with some cubs for a while. One of his buddies got lost in the woods overnight. One time had to build a fire, like crazy stuff. But
was he in a swamp?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think he was just got turned around. It's pretty hilly up there and stuff. Yeah. So I don't know. Favorite hunt is tough. Like I didn't start bow hunting till my mid-20s. So my first bow hunt was up there because that's where I just did whatever my dad did. And he's like, let's go up there. So I think just being in the big woods is something that's really special to me. I'm not giving you a specific example of a favorite hunt. It may have been. No,
that's fine. Like the North Woods is its own thing.
Yeah, it is. And I've done most of my bow hunting locally now. That's where I try to really within my locale here in mid southeastern Wisconsin. One of my favorite hunts, oddly enough, is when I killed my first deer with a bow, which was a doe fawn from the ground at like 15 yards, and she was uphill of me. I was sitting on my butt on a butt pad and drew back and got her right in the heart. It was awesome. I didn't realize she was a doe fawn until I walked up on her because from that perspective, it looked like a huge deer to me.
Yeah.
And my dad was with me, not like hunting with me, hunting the same property. And at this point, I'm a grown man. My daughter was just born in 2017, so I'm in my early 30s, and I felt like a little kid. My dad's right there. He's like, "This is your first bow kill." He's like, "Congratulations." I was like, "Man, I feel like I'm 12 right now. Like, what is going on?" It's a very strange feeling emotionally. And so that was a pretty special hunt just because of the first one. That was a I don't know, a nice memory for me in the year that my daughter had just been born. I'd go with my dad and with my bow, and I finally made it happen, and it felt great. So that was a good one.
Mm-hmm. What's up? We are going to thank a few of these sponsors that help make this beautiful show a reality for all of you. So Here we go. So a big reason, I would say, to why we're so successful and we have so many bucks on the wall is because we use HuntWise. HuntWise is a GPS mapping app that you can download on any phone, any platform. You can look up public land huntings, ORV trails. You can get the weather. They actually have a HuntCast 2.0 that they teamed up with Jeff Sturgis to make. It's awesome. You need to check this thing out. Go to HuntWise, download the app.
I feel like if you go into the woods without optics, it's like going into the woods without pants on. Would you agree with that?
To a point.
To a point. We are huge fans of running binoculars, spotting scopes, and different things when we hunt, even whitetail. I bring binoculars out every time I go. We choose Vortex Optics because they make the best glass in the business. They have an amazing warranty, super clear glass, super helpful people that work there.
Also, if you want to rep some sweet Vortex swag like this warm shirt on a nice fall day, head over to Vortex Wear. Thank you. And use the promo code TFC20 for 20% off your purchase. Saddle game, you need to be in it. If you haven't been in it yet, then you don't know what you're missing.
Yeah.
Trophy Line Tree Sales makes some of the best saddles in the industry. They have 3 different platforms that we use and that are awesome.
I want to make a quick plug for the Wingman with a couple steps. You can take one less step, stick, and it's like a combination of a stick and a platform. I've been exclusively hunting out of it this year, and my mobile setup is so sweet. I'm very proud of it.
Awesome.
I highly recommend the Wingman system.
If you're ready to pull the trigger on that and you want to get with James and do the Wingman, head over to the website and you can save yourself 10% on the purchase. TFC10 will get you that. I like to think I single-handedly got James to switch to compound again, but I'd probably be a liar and everyone would call me out on that. We shoot prime bows. We think they're awesome. Great accuracy, super shootable.
Made here in Michigan.
Made in Michigan, so we love that. It's hard to complain.
That's where Jared was made. So
surprisingly,
we like that. Yeah.
Welcome. So go check out these prime bows.
We are of a firm belief that the arrow is the lifeblood of the archery industry. We've said it 1,000 times. But in all seriousness, we are huge fans of arrows that are durable, that fly well, and that kind of make up for some of my inaccuracies in the way that I shoot. So we shoot Vector custom arrows.
The hammer.
The hammer.
That's Thor.
They are made in Wisconsin by our buddy Isaac. Great arrows. And if you want to go and get yourself some, have a little bit of a discount, use TFC10 for 10% off. Or call Isaac up and tell him we sent you.
Mm-hmm. You want his phone number? Comment below.
Yep, comment below.
Yeah. No, I would agree. You know, I go on a lot of hunts all over the place, but I think sometimes that just northern woods, the tradition behind it, the big woods. I ask if it was a swamp because we have a lot kind of the northern part of Michigan, at least some of the areas that we'll go to, and you can get lost in like a cedar swamp. And
you get turned around so easy.
If you get lost in there, it could be ugly. All right. So the other kind of part of the podcast is like this question of the month. And I told you ahead of time, I wasn't going to tip you off to what it is, because this is a new one. You're the first guest to be asked this. And I think I ripped this off from somebody else. I don't know where I got it from. Something online.
Yeah.
So whoever made this, let me know. We'll send you thanks. That's about all we'll send you. But so you're a deer hunter, and you think about all these ways that you hide from deer and you try to conceal yourself and so on. So if you had the ability, and you have 3 options here. If you had the ability to either be a person that a deer couldn't see, a person that a deer couldn't smell, and a person that a deer couldn't hear, smell, see. Like if you were either invisible, soundproof, or smell proof, what would you pick for deer hunting?
Oh, smell proof all day long.
Really?
They see with their nose. That's their vision, right?
I knew you were going to say that.
Definitely. I stink anyways. And if I could have the wind to my favor at all times, entry, exit points wouldn't matter anymore. Deer hear sounds in the woods all the time, but they can't smell me. They're not going to pick me up. Now, seeing me is interesting because you can consider yourself to some degree. If you're still hunting, you can be slow and fluid in your movements. And, if they can never smell, they'll never understand. Like I got picked off by a doe a year ago hunting. She had me dead to rights. She's just staring at me, but I didn't move, and the wind was in my favor. So she never thought anything of it. She just was like, "Yeah, must have been nothing," and then just kept going.
Yep. Well, this week I had what would have been the biggest buck I ever shot in my life. Probably the biggest buck I've ever seen hunting. Kind of on a knob on a hill, and he pops around the corner of the knob, and so I thought I didn't hear him coming. I had no idea, and all of a sudden he's there and I'm on the ground. Probably he started at 8 yards. He came to like 5 yards from me, looking right through. He didn't see me at all. I didn't move. The only time he kind of saw me was when he got to a point where I was silhouetted.
And once that happened, he kind of got spooked, but he wasn't sure. And so he kind of did the trot off thing. And of course, and maybe this is a story for another time, but I did shoot and wound him and never found him. So bucks are really tough, especially when they're loaded with testosterone. That's the lesson I learned. Anyways, all right. So you chose. I don't know that I would pick that. I think my answer is maybe not the most popular one, but we'll get into it another time. It's I would rather not be heard, but we won't dive into why.
It's wait for a day. You'll never hear you.
I like to I love to still hunt. I love to move. And I'm like, if I could just on the crunchiest, leafiest day be silent, man, that'd be sick. I could just get right in.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it really is. It's like, as young playing Call of Duty, you pick this, but then that goes down. And it's, do you want stealth or do you want speed? Do you want, whatever? You pick your thing. And when you give one up, you have to deal with the others. So it's interesting.
That's right. No. All right. So, like I said, this is the story series podcast. We keep them shorter and we focus on what a great hunting story is. Because the reason behind this whole series was we love to hear hunting stories. Growing up, I would listen to friends and family go out and tell stories. I've got you can't see it because of the light, but it's a holy cow, not even close. It's Hunting Trips of a Ranchman and the Wilderness Hunter by Teddy Roosevelt. It's a couple books combined, 2 books, and it's like my favorite one. It's just full of little short hunting stories that Teddy wrote about. And so anyways, we kind of were always enamored with the story aspect of hunting. And so we've been for a couple months now telling hunting stories, just having people come on that we know to tell their favorite ones. So Eric, this is your time to shine. I mean, you're a podcast guy, so I'm expecting like a great story to be told eloquently, and something that really stirs my heart when I listen to it. Do you got something like that?
Oh boy, you're talking to the wrong podcaster. It's funny because I ask people, what's your favorite story? And now I get the question. It's really hard to pick out an answer. And we have a couple writers that write for us, and one of them wrote an article, how to write a story that doesn't suck. And he talked about, it doesn't have to be like you killed something or whatever.
Right.
Like, talked about this one guy said his mom came and helped him drag an elk out. He's like, well, let's talk about your mom for a second. Like, well, how did that happen? And I don't have a lot of that. I think quite honestly, the story from this season is one that is a pretty good story, I think. Because there's a lot that happened there. And usually if my dad's around, like that's a big one for me. So I guess I'll do that one. It's pretty fresh too. So it actually starts with hunting on a Wednesday. I took some really sporadic days off of work to hunt the rut. So I didn't do like a full 2-week break. I just had to pick what my calendar would allow from work. And that happened to be 2 Wednesdays in a row. And one of those Wednesdays I had our videographer that we got with us. His name is Jace. And I was like, look, man, I don't know what we're going to do based on the wind and the locale and the setup and all the stuff. Like, we're going to hit this property in the morning. I don't like doing morning hunts. I've had missed encounters, missed opportunities because I don't fully set up in the morning. I just get to a general staging area, wait it out, see what kind of activity happens. And then as the afternoon progresses, I'll go set up and get into like maybe near bedding or something. And that happened last season. I missed a 140. I didn't miss him by shooting. I missed the opportunity to shoot him at 10 yards. And it was
Were you on the ground?
Yeah, because it was the morning. And he came up the wrong side of the ridge, right side of the ridge for him, wrong side for me.
Yeah.
That's everything's got to go right. And it didn't. So then the Wednesday before I got the deer that I ended up getting this season, we go to this public spot. And at this point, my wife is at her wit's end with me with hunting and podcasting and business and all of it. So she's just, you better kill something. And I'm like, yeah. And my daughter, who's 5 now, has been just busting my chops about getting a deer because she wants to eat venison. She's like,
she just wants to be fed. I mean,
she thinks she's going to eat it when I bring it home. And that's happened before. So like, it's a thing, but she's like really on my tail about it. And I'm like, at this point, I'm just going to shoot a deer to make my daughter happy, get my wife back to normal, and I can go back to living my life. And it doesn't have to be a buck. I was like, whatever. So then, Jason and I go out at this property, very local to where I'm at in Oconomowoc. And it had just opened up. So, I wasn't really sure I had not a lot of time to scout it because it was never a property that could be hunted before this season. And I didn't have a good lay of the land. I had some assumptions. I'd been in the area before, but I've never really scouted the property for deer hunting. And so we go to the spot thinking okay, I've hunted a few times this season so far. This is what I think the deer are doing. We're going to sit here in the morning, work our way in, and we'll wait till light comes up, and then we'll recalibrate. And I got on my phone and I ordered my wife bagels because
Smart.
I thought she's going to wake up. What if she woke up with some bagels instead of me missing?
Is that the definition of the least you could do?
It was the least I could. Yeah, really. I was like, I feel like I need to do something. Mainly my own guilt, but also for her, right?
Sure,
and,
of course.
So I finished putting my order in, and I hear a twig snap. I'm like, that's a deer. 100% that's a deer. I look at Jace. He was sleeping, totally sacked out, horizontal on the ground, laying flat on the ground.
Oh, man, those morning sleeps.
And I'm like, nice. Hey, deer. And I'm like, oh, it's a buck. And at this point, to me, anything is a monster. Literally anything. It could have been a spike, and I'd like monster. So I'm like, big buck. And he pops up, and all of a sudden the deer's, we stopped it. We're looking at it, and he's looking at us, and he couldn't figure anything out. The wind was in our favor. This is great. I'm on the ground, on my butt again. And once he stops looking and goes to take a step, I draw back. That he catches the movement, stops again, which is good. I needed him to.
Yeah.
And as he stopped there, I draw back and I slice my index finger open on my iron will broadhead. And I say iron will broadhead.
Did you have your finger hanging?
I don't know what I did. I really don't understand what had happened, but I think in my brain, probably I was keeping my finger on my arrow to, I don't know, keep it in my my drop away rest. What was I doing? So I do that, and on the drawback, I slice my finger. I'm like, oh, that hurt. That might be a problem, because these are literally, their tagline is as sharp as science allows. And as I'm at full draw, I have rubber tubing. I have an older bow. I have a Bear Empire, and my rubber tubing popped off, and now I have no alignment from my peep to my sight pin, and I was just aligned a second ago, but now I'm confused. I'm like, my finger's starting to hurt more. I don't understand what just popped off in my face. Like, what is going on right now? And so I make the best shot I think I can at full draw, because he's still right there. It's a 20-yard shot, maybe 15. I had ranged it earlier, but anyway, so I'm like, okay, let her rip. Crack. Huge sound. Not the kind of sound I want to hear. Buck runs off. I look over at Jace. I literally say, not good. First of all, my finger's bleeding all down my arm. It's not good. And then my bow is broken at this point. Like, it's not ethical. It's not going to be a functional piece of equipment for the rest of the rut day. So we go back to my truck, get a first aid kit. Luckily I had one in there. I wish it was from Uncharted Supply, actually, but
I like those guys. Yeah.
It's a piece of crap one.
Kristen's awesome.
He's a good dude. And so then I wrap it in gauze, and we go back out, because I left everything there, because I'm like, we just got to deal with this finger situation first, because it's not going well. And on the way back, that same deer crosses over the bike path we were on our route in, and stands there.
The same buck that you missed him the first time?
Missed him. So he was going east away from us. And then when we were coming back, he was coming back west into where we were headed, back to our spot.
He was just going right back. Did he not know that you shot at him?
He didn't even know. I think this has never been a spot that had been hunted legally before, although I did learn that people have been hunting it illegally, apparently. So I don't think he's ever really experienced that. There's people on the bike path all the time. He's probably like, oh, that's kind of weird. He didn't really get
it's like he's feeling himself. He's like, I think I'm all right. I'm safe. Like, I didn't even,
There's doe bedding all up in this area, so he's probably just rutting around, And so that was just like an awkward moment, like, you son of a gun. So I was like, let's get back in there. We might be able to call this guy back. I could rattle, I could grunt, throw some branches around. Like, let's see if we could get him back. He seems pretty stupid. So I don't care. Like, I would love to kill this buck. That'd be great. He was just a 6 point. It wasn't huge, but I was like super jacked about it from the public land. Like, hell yeah, And I'm like, if he gets close enough, I'll just, trad bow this with my no peep sight thing. And, it never happened. We waited longer. I called my buddy Greg, who does a podcast with me. I'm like, what do you think, man? He's like, get the hell out of there. You're not going to kill a deer with your damn bow. Go get it fixed. I was like, yeah. Okay. I figured that.
Wise.
Yep. I just needed him to rattle in my head a little bit more, because I was getting a little rut fever.
Going on.
And so then we went to the archery shop locally, Whale Tails here in Dousman, Wisconsin, and got my bow fixed, got some breakfast. And I'm in this area of Dousman that I have permission on private to hunt for the last 2 years. It's a 16-acre plot, runs right along a river in a narrow kind of strip along the river. And I've never been on it. And I have permission to hunt it, but I've never been there and I've never set foot on it. So I was like, we're right here. Let's go look at that property since we're over here and just take a peek. So look at the property. It's laid out nice. I find a tree that could work really good for where I assume some bedding is. Not a lot of buck sign, but heavy trails. Like looks like cattle been running through there. So definitely deer back there. And at this point, I just need to kill something. So if that didn't happen, if my bow didn't break,
yeah,
I wouldn't have gone to the archery shop. If I didn't go to the archery shop, I wouldn't have been by this area that I was going to potentially hunt that I knew I had permission on. So I text a landowner that I know, and I was like, "Hey, dude, can I hunt this weekend on your spot? Like, I'm just checking in, making sure like there's no one else there. I know I've had permission the last couple of years. I'm never taking you up on it." And so he's like, "Yeah, fine, that's fine. My uncle's not gonna be there till Sunday, so go nuts." So do an all day hunt again. Bring my buddy Joel, one of my best friends, best man at my wedding, good dude. And we hunt it. 7 a.m. comes around. Actually, 6:45. I'm hearing chasing and grunting and like a lot of action in this oxbow right off to the north of me, northwest of me. And I'm like, holy shit, this is gonna happen. This could happen. You know, this doe comes piling out, and I'm thinking, all right, here it is. There's gonna be a buck right after her. The buck never showed up, but there was another buck across this river, watching. And I was like, look at that guy. He looks pretty big. He's watching us all go down. So he's on her, all the action. He crosses the river and it shakes off, which is really cool to see. That was just a really cool.
I love that. They're like a dog kind of shakes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just cool to see a buck, chest deep in a river. No big deal. It's freezing outside. He didn't care. Puts his head down, boom, goes into the action. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. I'm just going to kind of hang tight here. He popped out at my 20-yard pin, right out of the thick stuff, right in my shot shooting lane. And I got him. I double lunged him. I didn't realize it was like the greatest shot time. It just felt low, but it was fine.
Yeah.
And because he was quartering to me, it got through to some guts. And I was like, oh no, did I gut shot him? Like, what happened? And I just had to like process what had happened.
Yeah. They'll die if you hit him in the guts. It just takes longer.
Yeah. So then everyone's like, my buddy Derek and Greg and Isaac with Vector. I'm like calling these guys like, hey, this is the situation. What do I need to do to like stay out for 6 hours? So he did. He died right away. It was a good shot. But he crossed the river to do it. And we're tracking him. And at this point, I just thought he was a big 6-pointer. I didn't know he was what he was, which I have.
You have him? Oh,
yeah,
good. I was just going to say.
So
he's a great buck. He's
like,
wide and cool. That's a good
like,
buck, dude.
Cool character. Like this beam's like got some like really cool like twisting and stuff.
You mounting him?
Yeah, I have to. This is the biggest buck I've ever gotten, and with the bow.
And we'll look wide, man. I love a good buck with character, and like that one's got it. That one's got the character.
Yeah, so I didn't realize he was big. I just didn't know. I didn't realize it at all. This whole time I think I just got a nice 6-pointer or something. And we get to this river, and I'm like, it's our last speck of blood, and we're like, it's obvious he crossed. So I'm like, oh my god, I don't have anything with me to cross this freaking river. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm stripping down my underwear because.
Well, it's that, or you caulk the wagon and float. You ford the river, caulk it and float, or you pay somebody to ferry you across. As far as I know,
like, I don't have any boats. I don't have like the Christian, boat, the whatever, the life raft. I don't have waders. Greg's got some knee high or some hip highs, so he crossed. I'm like, why don't you go first, and then throw them back to me?
Yeah, sucker. You go first and test it out.
Yeah, he's like, these aren't making it across, dude. There's too much overhang here. I'm not throwing these over. It's not going to happen. I'm like, damn it. So I'm like, all right, well, here we go. Strip down, tie my pants around my neck. Grab my boots, my bow, it's on my back, walk across barefoot. It's freezing cold. So at this point, this is what I like about the story. It's adventure. It's uncharted. It's these things that are hard are indelible, and I love that about them. So my dad's with us. He was hunting nearby on a lease that my uncle owns. He's like, can I come, help out? I'm like, yeah, of course. Yeah, please. So he gets to the river, and then he just disappears. We don't see where he went. He's looking for a spot to cross. It's not going to happen. I've already done this. There's nowhere to cross.
Yeah.
The banks were like super deep. So Greg's across, and Greg saw the deer. He knew it was dead. Now at this point in time, I had no clue.
Love it.
So, I get across, and there's a big pool of bright red blood. I'm like, oh, thank God. This is a good sign. Like, great. And Greg's like, just, take a moment. I'm like, I'm just gonna get my freaking boots on. Let's go. You know, he's like, take a moment, man. Just take it all in, look around for a second. Like, let's see if you see any more blood. I'm looking. And then it hits me, and there's a deer piled up. And I was like, well, that's not my deer.
Who else shot a buck in
Mine
here?
wasn't that big. Like, what is that? Did someone else shoot a deer back here? Like,
I love that's your first thought.
yeah, I was very confused, but then it started to kind of hit me. I was like, that's my deer. Holy shit. So I shout back to my dad across from him, like, Dad, it's dead. He's like, what? It's in its bed. I'm like, no, Dad, it's dead. It's dead. It's right here. It's dead. He's like, it is? I'm coming over. I'm like, wait, you don't have to come over. You don't have to do it. It's cool. He's, no. Strips down to his tidy whiteys.
I love it.
Runs across the river. He walks up.
I would have thought he would be Porky Pigging it across. You know what Porky Pigging is?
I don't know. It sounds not great.
Just short, just a shirt, no pants.
It looked like it though. It looked like, because his shirt was like long on his underwear, so it looked awkward. But he gets over and he's like, that's not a 6-point. I'm like, that's what I said. So he's jacked up. He's all fired up. He freaking moons us, which is weird. You know, he's like,
but it's necessary.
Everyone's happy. Yeah, it was another moment. So actually, you know, it's the second buck I got with my bow, and the first one's here. That was a cool story with my daughter. Anyways, but this
Beautiful
one,
buck.
yeah, for a first one with a bow on public, like I couldn't be happier.
Yeah. I'd shoot him at this year tomorrow if I was out with my bow. That's not my first. Yeah. It doesn't take much. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's then we just, we dragged across the river, got it out of there, and whatever, all that stuff.
You eaten it yet? Did you bring it right home and eat it right away like your daughter wanted?
I didn't, because the way I shot it, whatever. I brought it to the processor the next day, getting fresh cuts back and
what kind of cuts you getting? You getting any jerky or anything fun like that?
No, I'm doing I've never actually done it this way. I'm doing zero of that. No burger, no sausage, no sticks, nothing. I'm just doing all the scraps.
Primal.
And I might try grinding my own this season. And people call them meat grinding parties, which sounds really fun.
If Jared was here, I would be making so many jokes at his expense about his meat grinding parties. But
sausage party, meat grinding party, whatever you want to call it.
He's not here, and so you know what? Jared loves those kind of parties. He's not here, so I just got to say something. I got to get it out of my system. Yeah, that's. I need to get a new meat grinder. Mine, I got one. I think it's just kind of cheap or something, but.
You got to hit Chart up. They'll give us some to use and try out.
Yes. I had him on the podcast. He didn't. I was hoping he would just like be so thankful and like thought it went so well.
Yeah. You guys both went to law school or something like that. Was like
that's right. We were kindred spirits, man. No, it's mine right now is like it just gets jammed up. It's like it's got this really like flimsy tamper, I think you're called.
You got to really push the meat in there, huh?
You got to really push the meat in there, and sometimes it's like you're pushing soft meat in, and it just does not work. So, no pun intended. So, anyways, no. So I gotta look at it. I might borrow Jared's meat grinder, which doesn't feel right, but
yeah, have another man's meat grinder is not something.
Well, that's awesome. That's a good story. And, I've been following from afar on social media, the buck and some of the pictures and things you've shared about it, which has been fun.
Yeah. How many pictures is too many? Like, I'm new to this whole actually killing a buck thing.
What, too many pictures? You shot a buck, man. You
know what I mean?
screamed it from the rooftops.
How long do I need to be posting about this thing? Because I'm like one and done. I don't need to oversell it here. It is what it is. And everyone's like, you need to share more. I'm like, what? We're doing a YouTube show this year. Like, let that be the way that it gets out there, because I'm excited about that.
No, you got to keep sharing. You know what? And I shot a buck this year. I'm going to share it again. Just because, just to support you. People want to see. Who doesn't like to see a buck? If I open Instagram right now and I just see a nice buck, that lightens my load a little bit in the day.
Yeah, or gets fired up. It's like
that's right. So you got some more hunting to do this year. When do yours?
No, I'm done. I'm done, dude. My wife is like, we have 3 kids under 5. It's not okay.
No, yeah, you might not survive.
I have to travel for work a little bit, which has not been something I've ever done in the past. At my old job, I started a new job in February, and I'm traveling a bit. So I was in Alabama not that long ago. I'm going to Montana in like a week. So I got to be cognizant and mindful of her sanity and be a present dad. And by the end of this hunting season, I get really, I think this is common with a number of people. It's not just me. It's not like, I get this way and this, but I really do. I get so cranked into it that I actually end up exhausting myself on it. So by the time it's done, it's like a little bit freeing that I can let this go for a second. And traditionally what would happen is then I go into ice fishing mode and I go really deep into that.
Yep.
And then, top water fishing and then hunting. And those are like my 3 core things. And now it's like hunting and dad. And that's it. Now I don't do ice fishing at the moment. I've not really been into fishing at the moment. My kids are too out of control in that. Not like they're bad. They're just,
they're kids.
They're just free radicals, you know.
They're just kids. Free radicals. I like it, and I know that. Again, I don't want to say grind. I see it all the time. People talking about the grind of hunting, and I'm like, dude, you're out hunting. Like,
it's a beautiful thing. If it's a grind, you're not doing it right. Family out, I would just live it constantly, and that's the thing. Like that we'll talk about on our stuff is like, I have to accept my reality. My reality is that. Yeah. I'm going to shoot a 6-pointer or a 4-pointer because I think I only hunted like maybe 7 or 8 times. Yeah. And that's a lot for me this season. Like I was supposed to be cutting back, and some people hunt like 20, 30 times. I would love to do that. And if you're hunting public and it's your career and you're in the woods like all of the time, you're going to increase, you have more at bats. You're going to increase your odds. You're going to compound your learning. You're going to like learn faster, pick up more information, have more encounters and so forth. Like you're increasing your odds of shooting something. For me, I'm like, well, my reality is I'm probably not going to shoot a big buck. That takes too much time, commitment, and energy and fortitude that I don't acquire right now. So until my kids are grown, I'll switch gears then. So that's why I'm kind of like, I'm pretty.
I love it. And that's totally fine. Yeah. Like, so I've actually recently switched jobs and mine, I can work mountain time.
Okay.
So if you think about it, and I live right by where I hunt. Yep. So, I mean, work starts around 10 and that's early. Like, that's 8 mountain time.
Yeah.
And so I have hunted probably on average 6 days a week, 5 days a week since October.
Yeah.
First time I've ever been able to do that. And like you said, you take it when it comes, right? Because before that, I just didn't have that luxury. But I will still say, I'm not holding out for the largest buck. Like if a decent, like I've had probably this year at a shooter buck, probably 5 good chances, 6 good. I shot one, so 5 out of.
So you dropped an arrow out of a tree. That's pretty great.
Dropped that arrow. That was painful. Shot that one this week and heard. I had one that was scraping a tree behind me, coming right in. I'm all ready, and lo and behold, some guy pops over a hill. He's in his 80s with a cane.
Oh gosh.
Walking with a big, literally, it's just like it wasn't meant to be type of deal. So I've had a few of those, a couple of close calls and things like that. But you're right. Like I was talking to Jared about it, and he's like, "Well, you know what? I mean, don't feel too bad. You figured it out." I'm like, no, I haven't figured it out. All it is it's a numbers game. Like I figure at some point, if I'm just sitting in the woods long enough, some stupid buck's going to walk by me at some point. And obviously you use everything and you've learned, but I don't know that I'll give myself very much credit in like being a master other than just butt in the woods.
I've seen masters at work. My cousin's one of them. He's on the caliber of like a Jared Scheffler, hunts a similar style, slightly different. And he's had me go with him a couple of times. I'm like, the stuff that you seem to understand here is, what? Like, how do you know that's what he's going to do? He's literally playing chess with these deer. And I'm like, yeah, I understand quite a bit more than I had when I was younger, for sure. And there's always more to learn, but I'm not, and I'm not great at killing them. I'm really good at getting into the zone. Like I've used this example in our show. Like I can get into the red zone, but I can't get through the freaking end zone. Like the field shrinks, or expands or whatever it does there at the red zone. I can move the ball down the field, but once you're in that red zone, it's a lot tougher to get past.
And you're hunting on the ground. It's great. I love hunting on the ground. One of my favorite things to do. We saddle hunt a lot, but ground hunting is great. But man, you can get in the red zone, but it is really, there are so many minor decisions you make on the ground that you don't need to think of so much about in the air that make, I mean, like I said, you can be more mobile. You, like you talked about, wait for sunrise and you can move a little bit and be fine, which you just really can't do very well with a saddle or a climber or hang on or whatever you got. But I found that once you see them and then getting a shot off on the ground, and usually, if you're like me, I'll bring some mesh camo leafy stuff, and that's really all I have.
My cousin brings his longbow and a knife and a grunt,
Man.
and that's it. And he wears like jeans and whatever he can pull out of his car after a long day of work. And he pulls up and he's like, I'm ready. I'm like, and he's got rubber boots on. And I'm like, the first time I did this with him, I have like my my pouch, my stuff. He's like, dude, you don't bring all that. It's not gonna be a fun experience if you bring all that. Like, you're gonna be weighted down. You're not gonna go keep up. It's gonna be really challenging because everyone else goes sit in those trees, and we're not doing that. We're going this way, and we're gonna go get into these beds, and we're gonna f with these deer, and they're gonna think like they're gonna come at us. And if you get a shot, it's gonna be 5 to 10 yards, and you're gonna see him coming. And I'm gonna make him follow me, and you're gonna intercept. I'm like, holy shit! Like, what is going on? And it's a very, very I get the term adrenaline. It's totally different.
Whitetail adrenaline.
Yeah,
that's sweet. Well, hey, we're coming up on time here. I would encourage everybody who's listening to check Eric and some of the Okayest Hunter stuff that you're doing out, because it's fun. It adds a good perspective to hunting. And I think we need it. I think there's a lot of people who are very serious, take themselves too seriously. And so the things you're doing make hunting lighthearted, and there's like a camaraderie element to it that I like. So, for people who want to follow you, how can they check you out?
It's easy. Just go to okayesthunter.com, and that'll take you everywhere else you need to go. And that's pretty much it. I'd say, if I can get a shameless plug in, subscribe to our YouTube channel, because our show is dropping in January. So that'll be really exciting. Subscribe to our email. Emails we send out are different than anything else you get from us. And we got good blog, editorial, and content, and all sorts of stuff. So
yeah, it's good stuff. Well, hey, Eric, thank you for taking the time, and everybody go check them out.
Thanks for having me.